Greetings. Welcome to the FaerySpeak. I'm John O'Toole. I hope you enjoy my show. This is an opportunity for me to do fairy readings for you in the audience. Now granted, I'm here and you're there, and by the time that this actually airs, it's going to be a little bit of time before you see it. But on the other hand, I believe that I am setting an intent for my reading to be part of your life or your lives. And you might just find something interesting that rings truth for you. Now, of course, this is for entertainment purposes only, and I don't know who you are. Well, I know who you are. But you and you and you and you and you, I don't know who you are. But you, I know who you are. Just kidding. So I've been doing tarot card reading for quite some time now. To tell you the truth, I'm not really sure when I started. Well, I'll have to look back and see what it was. I would say I've been doing it probably now for at least 15 years. 2018. I've been out of the closet, so to speak, in my connection to the fairy realm. Probably for at least 15 years. It took me a little while to get used to doing readings, and it took me a while to get in front of a camera. So it's rather an amazing thing. If you knew me 20 years ago, you would never believe that I could be in front of a camera. It doesn't bother me anymore. Used to. I once had a time when I was in the play Harvey in college. This was back in the early 80s. And I had such stage fright that I had to withdraw from being an actor. The only job was the taxi cab driver that drops off Jimmy Stewart. And the rabbit, of course. But, yeah, I had to shift over to being a technical director, which is interesting because that's actually where I started at CTSB as a technical director for someone else's show. But now look at me, I'm in front of the camera. I'm actually a filmmaker and a producer of sorts. I mean, I'm not doing movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but quite interesting. Last month I did, what was it this month? This is August. So it's still this month. I did one of the forums for the Berkshire District Court. And that was an interesting experience. I hadn't done a meeting of sorts like that yet. And it came out good. I used my techniques that I have specialized in, which basically is a multi-camera shoot. And that gives me opportunity where I can have a wide shot, and then I could cut to the actual candidates while I'm moving my camera into position and getting ready into that position, so you don't have to see the camera swinging left and right, which has a tendency of making people a little bit seasick. It's like being on a boat. It keeps going, whoa, whoa. And let's not forget the ups and downs with the left and rights. Good old days of being on a sailboat. And it's not just ups and downs, it's in any different direction. So, that didn't work out well. How they do it. You see the dealers do it, and it's just perfect every time. Although, it's always been on TV, so I've never seen it done in person, so I don't. Maybe they do it, maybe they mess up just like I do. And they fix it on camera. So I am going to do a reading. Fairy Oracle cards, which are from Brian Frauds. But you don't have to necessarily use these cards. You can use any card that happens to ring truth to you. And there's all kinds of tarot cards out there. You don't necessarily have to do readings for other people. You could just do readings for yourself. Set them up on a coffee table or your dining room table or so forth, and do a personal reading for yourself in the morning when you're meditating and getting ready to go off into the world. You should go to a local bookstore like the Crystal Essence or, Barnes & Noble, someplace where you could actually touch the box and read it. Read the box and see if you are comfortable with that. You can buy them off the internet, but you don't get quite the same connection on the internet. Except with me. I'm just a lovable guy, so you can easily find that I'm a fun person. But, when you're picking out your tarot cards, you kind of want to have a little bit closer connection to them. So, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Harry. Harry has been with me, quite some time. I probably met him about 15 years or so ago, around the same time as I started doing readings. And he's a gnome. Call him Hairy Feet, for his big, bushy, hairy feet. And he travels with me a lot of places. I just know he's there. Every so often he pops out, but I live, completely surrounded by trees, with the exception of the street. So he's quite content here. He's got a couple of cats to annoy, and he's very comfortable here. And I haven't had to really do much here to give him some place to stay. When I first met him, I had made a crystal garden, and maybe I can bring up a picture of it and insert it right here. And it was basically a little, little fountain type of thing, and I just filled it with crystal stones. There were lots of smoky quartz and different things. There were different rocks and stuff. My daughters would say, well, people are just going to steal them. I said, well, if they really need the crystal, then they can have the crystal. I'm not going to get all bent out of shape for somebody who really thinks they need it. If they, there's that thing called karma, and if you take something that doesn't belong with you, and you're just taking it for the fun of it, karma's going to come back at you. And you never know how it's going to affect you. So, that's my friend Harry. And he's going to help me draw cards, and we're going to do a reading. So, we are going to, my introductions are not really scripted. Okay, so we are going to draw some cards, and in the past I've kind of said that you guys are going to pull the cards, but I've changed that perception. The fairy has told me that they help actually pull the cards. They only told me that you guys did it just to kind of dangle a carrot in front of my nose and go, oh, cool. So what we're going to do is the fairy is going to help me pick out cards for you. And, you know, they may ring truth to you and they may not. There may be somebody in the same room with you that are going, uh-huh. So it's kind of an interesting thing about the cards. Maybe the cards are going to be more about global dynamics that are going in the world out there. The last reading that I just did, that was kind of where the direction was. Many of the cards were pertaining to the overall thing. But then there were some that were personal. So you just don't know. Being able to do your own tarot card reading every so often is not such a bad thing. Okay, so we are going to pull first I heard 5, then I heard 6, and then I heard 7. I guess we're going to pull 7 cards, and we'll see where we are after that. Are you ready? Little Jimmy, what do you think? You over there in the kitchen? You gotta participate this time? Okay, let's start her up. That's 7 cards. Alrighty. So, should we start with this one or start with that one? They're both singer cards. So where should we start? Let's start with this card. Number 12. The singer of the singer of the chalice. Trust, patience, creativity, hope, and miracles. Trust, patience, creativity, hope, and miracles. That's pretty cool. Number 38. Last Moon's Daughter. High light cast in shadows, spiritual guidance, and illuminating riddles. Light cast in shadows, spiritual guidance, illumination, and riddles. Well, that's an odd card, isn't it? Light cast in shadows, spiritual guidance. Ever find yourself lost in the shadows? $36. The Spirit Dancer. How did I pick that up? Oh, wait. This card was in reverse. Emotional needs are not met. Well, that makes more sense, doesn't it? Trust, patience, creativity, hope, and miracles. Well, that indeed makes more sense, doesn't it? Number 36. Spirit Dancer. I often see sprees along a small waterfall or a large waterfall at the bottom of the waterfall, though, when the water's dancing on the surface. That's where you'll notice the sprees, kind of like dragonflies bouncing around on the surface. In the corner of your eye, of course. Self-expression, freedom, and exploration. Well, that's very cool. Number 17. Natural law, life forces, magic, shamanic power. But this card was in reverse. Feel twisted, drained, and depressed. Well, that's kind of interesting. It's almost It's a kind of an interesting thing. It's kind of like it's like when you see the Fred Flintstones doing the running and running the feet, and then the car not going anywhere. They're stuck. And don't we feel that? It seems like it's a pretty good energy. That's what it feels like. Is it to keep running, trying to do something constructive, and it just doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere. Number 44. List of the Shadows. Pretty card. Healing the shadows, addictions, bondage, and self-esteem. Yes, well, that's what I was just talking about. Being stuck, kind of like stuck in a rut. Addictions. Trying to face those fears of moving beyond the repetition of something that's causing you to stay in the same spot. I'm trying to give up wheat and bread. Now, I've done this a number of times. I've had weight issues all my life since I was a child. So I've been trying to give up wheat, and I've been staying away from wheat for the most part. Actually, pretty much for the most part, but I leave out those, there might be some times, but I've actually been pretty good. Replacing it with brown rice. Not trying to be perfect, I'm just trying to give myself an option. 63, Indie. So when you see me at a local restaurant mouthing down a bunch of bread, you could say, I thought you were giving that up. Well, I had a moment of weakness. But you know, it's a different option to eat bread because it's a really good tasting bread versus eating bread because it's there. It's different. You know, so if I go out to a restaurant and they have wonderful bread, tasting bread, and some nice soft butter, it makes it well worth it, or some olive oil to dip it in. Makes it well worth it versus having it, you know, on the counter and eating it 3 or 4 times a day. You know, and really not even thinking about it because you use it to hold other things. But if you don't have it to hold other things, then you don't eat the other things. Indie. Indecision, wishy-washy, commitment, decision making. Well, that's it's exactly what I'm talking about. It's exactly what I'm talking about. Wishy-washy commitment and decision making. You know, that's like saying, well, I gotta have toast with eggs. I think I was even saying that when I was at the doctor's office. But you gotta have a couple of slices of toast with eggs. You can't have eggs easy over without toast. I mean, it's just not it's not a thing. But now I have brown rice with my eggs easy over. And it's really kind of more enjoyable. Of the Fiery Sword, number 4. This is the one I didn't want to read the first time. It seemed like it was appropriate to read the first one card. He of the Fiery Sword. The active principle, spiritual with justice, protective, protection. Active principle, spiritual will, justice and protection. So that's interesting. It's kind of an ambiguous ending, isn't it? But it is kind of an interesting thing. Now this particular reading, this had 3, 4, 5 cards that were in reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4. and 5 cards that were vertical. It's kind of interesting. You just never know how the cards go. If you do this on a regular basis yourself at home, you'll notice that too, that there's not much predictability to how the cards end up unless you actually do it in a predictable way, like you choose the cards ahead of time, just so you can make sure you get the cards that you want. But then that's not really being honest with yourself. So, I hope you enjoyed the show. It was certainly a different show than the last one. I think this is episode 14. I think. And the last one was 12, and it was a totally different thing. Even though I did them at the same time, one after the other, this show is completely different than the show before. And that's because the cards that get read are different. So in the meantime, I hope you're enjoying the FaerySpeak and my other show that I also do from the Filmmaker's Chair, which you just never know what's going to be there. And there's also the show that is on Vimeo, is about the forum for the Berkshire County District Attorney slot. And that's interesting to listen to. If you don't, just watch the first 5 or 6 minutes of see what a great job I did shooting the video. That's important too. But at any rate, until next time, the fairy speaks for you. Da-da-ba-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba.